Welcome to beautiful Water, a tiny village in the northwestern Lake District. Today I'm embarking on a 16-kilometre walk taking me to the summits of two Wainwright Fells, Mellbreak and Hen Comb. Starting at the National Trust car park at Scale Hill Bridge, the route follows quiet country lanes past Muncaster House and over Park Beck. It's here that the path turns right and begins following a track ascending up through Greenwood. Views back to Grassmoor along this section are excellent, even with today's cloud coverage. Turning left from the woods, the path begins a steep ascent along a grassy, well-defined path to the base of Raven Crag. Joining the scree at the side of the crag, the route changes dramatically here, with loose stone underfoot and a much steeper path, and in places hands and feet may be required. The steep fellside allows for spectacular views over Lawton Vale and Lowers Water far below. Continuing up the loose scree path, the exposure level increases with vast drops off the steep crags. A head for heights is needed along this part, but thankfully it is short. Continuing up brings you to the first promontory on the ascent and allows for a little breather with dramatic views down to the valley below. At a second promontory further up, Wainwright highlights a lovely little peep around the corner, allowing for our first proper view of Crummock Water and distant Buttermere. The northern summit of Mellbreak is not far ahead and marked by a large cairn surrounded by heather. The views stretch off in all directions, with the mountains of Starling Dodd, Red Pike and Grassmoor all seen superbly from this aspect. Walking to the western side of the fell, there are unrestricted views of Burnbank Fell, Blake Fell and Hen Comb, which is where we will be later. But first I need to head across the open boggy ground that is the depression between the twin summits of Mellbreak and reach its true top. Easy walking, although wet in places, will bring you to the unremarkable south summit of Mellbreak, and at 512 metres above sea level, it's the highest point on the fell. A small bare patch of rock marks the peak, and although the views are still great, the best require some short detours around the fell top. Continuing the walk, the route descends down the southern slopes of the fell. Some parts are quite steep, with improving views of Buttermere and nearby Crummock Water. Turning right once at level ground will take you west into Mosedale. Mosedale is a vast open valley with few trees and acres of bog and marsh. The valley is so sparse that a lonely tree, known as the Mosedale holly tree, is a well-known landmark and very useful to aid navigation. Many tributaries of Mosedale Beck are crossed before picking up a track that crosses to the other side of the valley and runs along Mosedale Beck. The track begins strong, but shortly after crossing Mosedale Beck the path quickly fades and becomes more intermittent and far more wet underfoot. About half a mile of trudging through what appears to be an endless quagmire, the path re-emerges and ascends along a fence line and begins a final steep ascent to the summit of Hen Comb. The summit of Hen Comb has much in common with the neighbouring Mellbreak, and offers views of some of the more remote valleys and peaks in the Western Lakes. The peak is 509 metres above sea level, making it exactly the same height as the north top of Mellbreak, which we were at earlier. The route descends along Hen Comb's north ridge. A short steep section is followed by a long sprawling grassy marsh with a path heading north. Keep as close to the crest of the ridge as possible to ascend to a minor summit of Little Dodd. This peak is listed as a Burkett Fell for those peakbackers out there and offers more lovely views of Lowers Water and Lawton Vale. Descending further down, the route follows a track before crossing the fence and descending along the woodland down to Mosedale Beck. Sadly, the walk is almost over, but there are a couple more interesting things to see before you hang up your coat. As you make your way down into Lowers Water village, you'll pass an ancient earthwork in a field on the left. It's unknown what the earthworks are, with no historical references whatsoever. St Bartholomew's Church is the last historical feature passed along the route. The building dates back to 1829, and from here it's a simple walk along country lanes back to Scale Hill Bridge.